name is Steve Burton. Like Elizabeth said, I'm the founder and CEO of PerfectTux.com. We're the leading online provider of fashionable and unique men's formal wear that celebrates and promotes Black style and culture. I founded Perfect Tux back in 2016, so we are 4 years into the business. I've been doing e-commerce in general for about over 18 years, so I kind of started e-commerce before I even knew what e-commerce was or the terms was out there. Definitely wasn't as easy 18 years ago to do it as it is today. But with my business, it's not a common story, but I actually was able to get profitable within 6 months. And then we also, hit 6 figures in revenue within a year. So it definitely started off pretty fast. Someone just messaged they can't hear anything, but I think might be Tasha there. I don't know. It's probably them. You probably got to connect to the audio, Tasha. I'm not sure why you can't hear. But anyways, so yeah, I've been doing this. I'm pretty much I hate to call myself an expert at certain things, but I'm really good at online marketing, e-commerce in general. It's just where I really hang my hat at, and this is why I started this business. And so just recently we passed our 17,000 customer. So we've really just been just trying to grow things and scale things up myself and just take things to the next level. So it's been pretty cool. Yeah, everything's been great and just growing. I was able to get accepted into a business accelerator program out here in Los Angeles late last year.
Which one is it?
Grid 110.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was a part of their residency program in the fall. I forget if it's fall or winter. I forgot what cohort I was on. But it was last year, and that was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Met a lot of people. The community there has been great. So I suggest, actually, they just announced a new cohort that actually, if you're on that one, you get $25,000 grant, no equity.
Wow,
that's
good.
Like South LA. Actually, I might reapply for that too, because as alumni, you can join again too. So,
that's nice.
Definitely check out Grid 110. It's an amazing program.
Okay. So I'm going to stop my share and so you can share your screen and kind of control it.
Okay. I'll probably need to pull up my part here. Let's see. Let me open it up. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Got double screens here, so 1 second. Okay.
Cool.
All right. So, can you see this? Is it full screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to go through this again. So the topic for today is pretty much the strategies to grow your business, grow your e-commerce business specifically. Just how I kind of do this. I'm kind of new to the speaking world of things. This is like my third or fourth speaking engagement. But the thing that I like to share is that everything that I speak about or tell people is things that I've actually done or currently doing or just about to do like next week. So it's like, and then there's also things that you can Google or check me out and you can see the results in it. So, a lot of times I've had when I was on the other side of things and listened to speakers, it was always like, some basic stuff, but I never really felt like they actually did it themselves, because running a business is extremely hard and it's not for everybody. And I think even e-commerce, it's gotten to a point where it's a good thing. It's a good thing that it's easy to start your own e-commerce website and for anybody to start maybe like a side hustle. But when you're transitioning to wanting to do it full time, me personally, I have my own office that I'm in now, my own warehouse. Once you kind of take it to the next level, it kind of gets more strategic and definitely a lot more, you just got to, I would say strategic. We'll just leave it at that. So this is why strategies to grow your business and just to take things to the next level. So that's pretty much how I'm going to do it. And I'll probably dive into these topics that I've selected. But if there's any questions along the way, just feel free to just, ask. Or if it's IG Live, just go ahead and type something in and I'll definitely try to answer it. So I think we'll start off just by using the right tools. So with me, there's definitely, so we can keep it simple and just, I'll go over kind of the basic e-commerce platforms. I use one that's not as popular as at all. Like no one's probably ever heard of it, which I use OpenCart. Probably the most popular one is Shopify. Some of the reasons I didn't, I'm actually thinking about transitioning over to Shopify, but there's some things that I need to test to make sure it's the right platform for me. A few years ago, it wasn't the right platform for me. One of the main reasons, I would say the top of the cream of the crop is Magento. That's more so for like kind of larger size, small businesses, medium business, and like, enterprises type businesses. Pretty much it's like an open source and you can control, it's free, but you have to pay for your own hosting, your own server, and all those type of things. Shopify, you pay to use it. Again, I don't use it. I've seen, I've helped some friends with it and things like that. So I know some little things, but they just make it right out of the box. You're ready to start a shop, probably drag and click to make your own website, and you take it from there. But whenever you're trying to do some things a little more customized, depending on what you're trying to do, that's when some other platforms might be better. If Shopify goes down or their servers go down, all the websites under it go down. Whereas for me, I have my own server. I can control everything. I have a web developer. So if there's some things that I wanted to do, for example, we just launched this year a machine learning sizing widget tool. And then I wanted it in a specific place on my website. So to have that done, if you're just doing an add-on with Shopify or extension or whatever the case may be, you're real limited to a lot of your customizations, things that you need for your customers. And I know my customer and I know how they shop. So the things that I do to my website, I always have my customer in mind and how can I convert at the highest level. So that's why, we went with the open source like OpenCart. And, just more so the flexibility to do everything I needed the website to do and not be, held up by the platform itself. But most people nowadays would use Shopify, and I would probably suggest that, especially if you don't have any web development skills and or your budget is not that big. I would probably stick with Shopify. Every one of them have their own pros and cons. Again, I kind of just mentioned the biggest thing for me is that I wanted an open source and I wanted to be able to do some customization type things that Shopify wouldn't allow me to do at the time. The next important tool, I would say everything else I'm about to mention on here that's listed on here is pretty much things to take your website to the next level. I will say, for me, e-commerce seems a little bit more oversaturated just because it's so easy. Like Shopify has created it and made it so easy to do. But when you have a shop, for example, the shop, I know this is just a photo that's on here, looks like it's a t-shirt shop or a sweater or clothing shop. There's 5 million of those. And it's like, if you're trying to get outside your friends and family and or maybe your online followers, or maybe you're blessed enough to have 1 million followers and they do everything you say, then you're probably good to launch a e-commerce business. But for example, for me, launching Perfect Tux, like from day one, how do you launch a business that no one's ever heard of? That you can't Google it because it doesn't show up as brand new. And how do you convert a sale? And then you're asking them to spend an average of $150 or more on an item. So everything else on this list is tools to take your stuff to the next level. You really got to think beyond, and we're going to talk on like knowing your customer and the psychology of a customer a little on the next slide. But all these tools is kind of what I use personally to take my business to the next level. Starting with Google Analytics. Google Analytics is it's a free tool from Google. You just install a tracking code on your website, and it pretty much gives you your website visitors, your where they came in from. Did they come in from Google? Did they come in from Yahoo? Did they come in from social media, Twitter, Instagram? How long they were on your website? How many pages did they visit? Did they convert a sale? How much was the sale? Just all type of analytics that you can use to monitor your business, and also just make adjustments to your business and make, whatever you need to do to use that data. But in e-commerce, data is king. And without data, you're pretty much moving blindfolded. And I would say with any business, data is king, but especially for e-commerce, because if you don't know who's on your website, and you can't see your customer face to face, so you need to have as much data that you can to collect to make business decisions. And Google Analytics is like the first thing you have. If you don't have Google Analytics, you just need to stop and get that ASAP. A next cool thing there is Hotjar. It's hotjar.com. A cool thing with that is that Hotjar is pretty much like an analytics tool, but they allow you to see how your customer moves on your website live. Well, they record it. So instead of just saying, okay, 10 customers went to page 2 of my website, you can record a customer, you can see how they move their mouse around, you can see what they click, you can see what they go back on. If it's a mobile device they're on, it'll show you on the mobile sides on how they're operating your website. You just get to see everything. It gives you like heat maps and all type of things. And the cool thing about Hotjar is that it's free. It has a free basic tier. And with the free one, I mean, it's great. I think you get about 100 recordings that you can do on the free one. And it's just great because there are certain things that you might create a website and you're thinking, oh, I have this large image over here. Of course, every customer is going to click there. And then you look at some of your analytics and you realize they're not clicking that way. They're doing this or whatever the case may be. But to actually see that and see how customers are moving, it also helps with designing your website and where to put certain things. Again, I take that back to like how I said I did the size widget. I knew the placement of where I wanted it placed, that by default, it wasn't going to allow me to do it. So if I was like on Shopify or something like, where I was stuck to have the add to cart button had to be here, I was like, no, I want it over here, just because I saw how my customers were operated on my website. So Hotjar is definitely a good tool to use. The next one's a Facebook Pixel and Google tags. Those are pretty much just tracking codes that you have on your website. Pretty much if you plan on doing any type of online marketing or digital marketing or social media marketing, you need to have a tag on your website. That's pretty much the stuff when, if you go to a product and then you go on Facebook, you go on Instagram, all of a sudden you see the product while you're scrolling or something about what you were thinking. And some people are like, oh, my phones are listening to me, like they're on me. Like, no, you went to a website or you showed interest, or you even went to a competitor's website. And I'm able to target that type of customer as well. So those type of, the Pixel and the Google tags are just key on retargeting to customers. And also there's analytics tools within Facebook, analytics tools within Google ads that you can use to your benefit. And the good thing about the pixels and the tags is even if you're not ready to use paid ads, you still want to install that from day one, because you can go far back from, like, let's say you want to target customers 180 days previous, or whatever the case may be, the last 30 days. So it's not necessarily everything from today on, but you can get that previous history if you had that tag. So whenever you're ready to go. So those tags are just very important to install on your website. I know Shopify makes it pretty easy. I think it's like little add-ons and things like that. Like, you don't necessarily need a web developer to know that type of stuff, but you do get a little bit more. I actually recently was helping somebody with their Shopify website, and it does get to a point where you kind of need to know a little coding, not really, a little HTML. I'm saying HTML, that's really old, but you need to know something. The next one thing is just some basic stuff, email marketing software. Obviously, as you're collecting your customers, I personally use MailChimp. Email marketing is still valuable. It's still useful, especially when you're trying to retain customers and get them coming back. The latest thing I would say is SMS marketing, which is text message marketing, which is really taking off lately. I'm currently transitioning my website to do more of the text message marketing, just because the open rates for emails is not that great. It's still a good tool and a good source, but when someone gets a text message, I'm sure you guys get it, it pops up right there. The open rate or who all looks at it is definitely almost 100%. And people are just really more willing to probably click a link depending on what the text message is coming from. But Attentive is a good website or a good service that does text messaging marketing. They're good. And but yeah, so that's just getting to like the next level where customers are going, how they operating, and text messages are in. Now it is pretty pricey for their plans there. So and then even sending text messages, even other services, you pay like per cent, per message you send. And if you have a list of or a customer list of 20,000 customers, 10,000 customers, you could imagine how much it costs. But at the end of the day, if you get a couple, your return on investment, you get a couple sales from it, it all makes it make sense. So those are some of the tools that I use and I think would be just starting off, and also just that you'll that you'll still use to whatever level your business in. I'm trying to think. Again, all of these ones is really trying to take your website to the next level. I don't know if anybody has a website or even on my IG Live. Let me see. I'm sorry, I had some questions on IG, but what's up, everybody? We'll go on to this next slide here. So those are the tools that I currently use. Psychology of an online customer. I would say this is the most important part of e-commerce, in my opinion. The difference that separates profitable companies, scalable companies, something different than a side hustle, is really understanding your customer. You really have to take things to the next level on how everything that I do with my business. I think, how can I get this customer to convert? Again, if you're just starting out, and I meet with a lot of people all the time, and they have a business idea, and it's all good. But like when you're just starting out, how do you get that first sale? How do you get that first sale outside of friends and family? And a lot of times you can't even depend on friends and family to place a purchase. For example, I'm selling tuxedos and suits and things like that. That's not your everyday need. So just because I throw it out to my friends and family, hey, I got this new business, it doesn't mean that any of them had a need for a tuxedo at that exact moment. So so you really want to start thinking about these key points right here. So the trustworthiness of your website. When I first launched Perfect Tux, I couldn't tell you how many times I got phone calls with people just like, is this a legit business? Like, are you guys really going to ship? Even to this day, we'll get chats online like, if I place an order, I'm gonna get my stuff, right? Like, and at this point we got, hundreds and hundreds of reviews. But just imagine when you didn't have one review, when you're not Googleable, you can't find anything. How can you prove your trustworthiness? And I think this step right here, for anybody that just starts a website, they always skip. Like I go to so many websites and it's like, no matter what you're selling, I go to their contact page and it's literally only a form, like a form or email address to contact. That's not enough. You need to get some type of phone number on there, whether it's an 800 number, it's really cheap, a Google number, something. When I launched my first e-commerce business when I was 18 years old, I had a 800 number on there, and all I did was go straight to voicemail because I was scared to talk to any customers on the phone. But I had it there. But what I'm trying to say is, those are things that even I look for when I go to a website that I don't know. If I'm going to a website that I don't know what the brand is, I can't trust the brand, I don't know anything, and maybe if you're selling a low dollar thing and people are willing to take that risk, most people aren't. So I would say the things you can do to make your website trustworthy, it's like, is it secure? Does it have an HTTPS, with the lock symbol when they get it? On the contact page, is there a way to contact? Do they have business hours? If there's a problem with your order, who do you talk to? I hear all the time, like some websites are like, people have like drop shipping websites, and the item that gets drop shipped is drop shipping outside of the country. Like, how do you contact somebody? What do you do? Like, all that stuff is so important when you're just starting off and no one's heard of your business at all. How your customer shops. This is that next level stuff. You get into the psychology of a customer. A customer that's purchasing formal wear is a totally different customer that's purchasing, I don't know, whatever the case may be, snowboards or even a t-shirt or whatever the case may be. I know that for formal wear, it's a high consideration product. And by that, I mean, people have events that's down the line. They're going to take their time. They're going to bookmark a website. They're going to go back and forth. They can compare. They go just do a lot of research before they pull the trigger. On average, our customer takes about 28 days to make a purchase. So if you think about that and you're starting from day one, and I remember launching my website and just sitting there waiting for a customer to order, day one, the first day people are coming, the odds that someone was going to place an order on the first day, on the second day, on the third day, and I'm just thinking I'm a complete failure. But once I had enough traffic and enough time went by, I realized that, it takes them about a month to on average to make a purchase. So when I know it's a high consideration, I want to make sure that I'm answering all the questions that customers possibly could have right on that front page. There's a term called like above the fold. And that means like once you get to a website, it's kind of like similar to a newspaper. Like people read here, then they flip it down, and that's below the fold, above the fold. Same thing with a website. If you ever looked at a heat map on a website or go to Hotjar, it's like they go to the landing page up here and you go down. As far as more down you go on your website, that's how much it gets cold. People rarely keep scrolling. So that when they first come on your website, the most important thing is like the information you're trying to sell. Rather it's a video you need to show why your product is great, but just, hi, welcome to the website, whatever your introduction stuff, a nice photo, nice whatever, just ain't gonna cut it, especially when you're just starting out. You need to like literally, how can I convert the sale right here? How can I give you all the information right here, especially if it's a product page? So that's what you want to know, how your customer shops, how they operate on your website. This is where Hotjar comes in handy, or the Google Analytics. How many, how long, how much time are they on your website? Are they going away really fast? If they're spending a lot of time on your website, then that means they're interested in something, but that also means you might need to retarget them and remarket to them. And that's when it comes into like digital marketing ads and just giving them more information. So you want to dive deeper on your customer, on your industry. I was about to skip down to the last one, but okay. So yeah, on your customer and your industry, I'll just say this last one and we'll jump around here. But what type of product industry determines marketing to support your website? A lot of times I get somebody that came to me, for example, they're selling beauty products. I get beauty products all the time. And I think it's one of the most hardest things to break into. And I definitely give respect to everyone that's been able to get a successful beauty brand. But you have to know that e-commerce is, even though you have an e-commerce website, your website is not going to probably be your number one marketing tool. For that, you might need, the majority of your support might be physical, in-store samples, because you're talking about, you're not a trustworthy website, you may not a trustworthy brand, and you really want somebody to come on a website they've never heard of, to test some product that people really care about what goes in their hair, their skin, like they're super picky about it. And you think that just because you have a nice photo, people are gonna like go and buy your product just because you have a nice photo? Like, and maybe a paragraph or two paragraphs about your product? That's not gonna cut it. That's not gonna get a lot of things. Now your e-commerce, when someone trusts your brand or trusts maybe some of your footwork that you're doing, then they could come to your website and place a purchase. But that also goes back to how your customers shop. You might realize that, once you look at Google Analytics, direct people that come to my website, meaning people that type in perfecttux.com and go directly to my website. They're not Googling me. They're not coming from any other referral. They're going direct to my website. You might realize direct people that go to your website, the conversion rate on that is like 40%. So you're probably telling yourself, okay, when they already know about my brand and they go there, they are a high likelihood that they're going to purchase something. So how can I get my brand awareness or the trustworthy of my brand up? And if it's beauty products, it's probably a lot of hands-on, a lot of footwork, a lot of grind, whatever you got to do outside of it besides just sending them to your website cold and hoping that they purchase something. So for me in formal wear, I knew my competitors and I knew the type of customer. Most customers do not know a tuxedo brand. They first time they look for a tuxedo, a Google formal wear, the most they've ever heard of maybe is Men's Warehouse. So I use that to my advantage. I knew if I created a website that was like the best customer experience, that was just good quality, everything. A lot of my competitors had low res images, didn't have mobile friendly websites at the time when I launched it. So I made sure I did all that stuff. And knowing the fact that most customers never heard of a brand, never heard of anything, it was going to be a likelihood that they will purchase. So it was a different type of strategy than I would with like a beauty product. And and then I knew I could be strictly online and still make a dent in what I was doing. It's a lot deeper than that, but that's kind of like the top layer of it. Going back to this list, a return policy. There's so many websites that I go to, a lot of small scale ones, a lot of side hustle websites, where you don't have a return policy, or the return policy is there is no return policy. All sales final. Now, if you're selling a $15 t-shirt, maybe a customer will take a risk on that. They're like, oh, I like the design, I like the print, I like what they're talking about. If it don't come, it's $15, whatever. But if you're spending $200, you might care. If you're spending $500, you might care to know that you go buy something unsight, unseen, you ain't touched it, that you can return this if it doesn't work out. So return policy is important. That's one of the, things that people trust. You got to have some type of return policy. If I didn't have a return policy, I don't believe I would get near as many sales as I get, let alone probably any. I mean, it's just, I wouldn't purchase a high dollar item without a return policy. But at the same time, returns kill. And it's part of the industry, and it's part of e-commerce, and it just is what it is. My return rate is pretty good for online stores, or online fashion stores to be specific. It's about 15%, 14%, which is like really good. I know some businesses that have like 25%, 30%, 40% return rates. So it just depends. But the whole point of it is like the psychology of the customer. How can you make them super, super comfortable? And it's like having a return policy does that. Already spoke on ways to contact. Again, if you're a brand new company, I wouldn't just stick with just a contact form or just an email. I would try to get a phone number. If your Instagram is popping, hopefully you got a good amount of followers. Maybe that would work, just going over there. But I would think it doesn't cost that much to get a phone number in there. And that alone, just the beauty of somebody being able to call in and say, are you guys there? Hello? Is this a real business? And they will call and do that. And so for you to just be like, yeah, and and talk to them and convert that sale, it's important. Or they might call in and need a question. Have a question. How's the sizing? I'm confused on your website. I can't check out. I get so many calls. Well, not so many, but usually older customers that they call in and they're struggling to check out. So we'll take the order over the phone for them. So like you're missing out on business by not having a phone number, especially when you're trying to take your business to the next level, or just build that trustworthiness on your website, especially when you're just starting out. So that is that there. All right, so the next part we're going to talk about is what sets your company apart. It's kind of tied into the psychology of a customer, but for me, okay, so who is your competition? Let's just go through this thing, and then I'm going to start ad-libbing like I normally do. Who is your competition? Obviously, that's one of like ABCs of starting a business. But I would say it's a little more deeper. I already kind of mentioned on my competitors. I knew what they weren't doing. Like, what do they do good and what do they do bad? I knew that all my competitors they shared the same photos. Like we got a lot of let's get the same things from the same manufacturers, and manufacturers give you stock images to use. Everyone's using the same stock image. No one has high res. No one's giving you multiple images. The website is hard to navigate. It's not mobile friendly. It's not whatever the case may be. It's just whatever it was. And I took those things and I said, you know what? I'm gonna do everything opposite there. Sorry, I should have turned my phone on mute. So knowing who your competition is and how many people is in your industry, how much Google a search term for your business, like how many other websites come up, like just knowing how you got to navigate it and what sets your company apart is gonna also help for your marketing strategy and things like that. The right info above the fold. Again, I mentioned that in the last thing. Like you want to have the right information, the information to convert above the fold. If they have to learn about your company or all the good things that your company does different down the website, hidden in a About Us page or whatever the case may be, no customers are going to read that. And it's going to get lost. How can customers tell the difference? Just because you know the difference of what you're offering different, maybe you're going back to a beauty brand. Maybe yours is just like, if they physically touch it and try it, it's whatever. How do you convey that through a computer or through a phone or through whatever, through a website? How do you convey what you're doing? Can the customer grasp what you're doing? If it's really complicated, maybe you need a video, a how-to video, like whatever you need to convert that sale. That's how you need to be thinking. What sets your company apart? How I used it, like I said, with those things, I knew to do different with my competitors, and then I also knew the customer and knew that most customers never heard of me, but they also never heard of my biggest competitor that's been around for 20 years. Like unless you just really love tuxedos and formal wear, and that's what you're searching every single day, you've never heard about, most people probably never heard of Perfect Tux. But if you're in the market for a tuxedo or a fashionable look or whatever the case may be, oh, you heard of us, and we're going to be all in your face. So you really want to, so whatever you do different, you just want to know what your landscape is for your industry, what your landscape is for your competitors, and just how you're going to attack it. Because all these things that so far I've said all kind of also supports your marketing strategy, how you're going to convert that sale, pretty much when it comes down to it. Just to give you another real life example, for me, I knew, for example, I started off with Google Shopping ads. Google Shopping ads are like when you see a product, when you Google something, you see the actual product there, and you can click it. Those are Google Shopping versus text ads is when it's just text ads. But I knew 99% of my business when I first started off for the first year and a half was strictly from Google Shopping. But I knew if I had a bomb photo that my competitor, everyone else looks cheaper, everyone was using the same thing, and I got you in there, I knew everything else that was going on my website was going to make you convert. It did happen, and that was kind of my strategy. But also, it took some more time of building the trustworthiness of my website. It took a lot of grinding out to get my first couple reviews, and then once I had 10, I had 20 reviews. Then customers could actually look us up. And once Perfect Tux, even if you Googled Perfect Tux back then, my website wouldn't even show up. Now if you Google Perfect Tux is the first website that shows up. But I had to survive and give it time for all of that stuff to happen. But I knew that was my strategy going in because I went off of what my competitors wasn't doing, and I knew the type of customer, in my industry, how they operate, and it just helped my marketing strategy there. So yes, that is there. That processes, and is it scalable? So this is actually currently where I'm at. My next level for my business is scaling it up. I will say that a successful website, a successful e-commerce website, it gets really hard, because the thing about e-commerce, especially let's say you're selling a low dollar amount item, like something that costs $10, $20, $35. Your thing is you want to sell as many as possible, because I'm sure just one sale isn't going to make you, oh, I'm cool. We can close shop for the day. If you're selling something for $10, $15, $20, hopefully you're making at least $7 on it. you know what I'm saying? And then like, you're trying to get as much as possible. So if you're having a successful website at that point, you're talking like hundreds and hundreds of orders, per day. And can you manage that? Then you're looking into inventory software. I currently use inventory software. It's a online inventory. It's called Finale. And it links with my website, and I could track my my inventory in the building and all that stuff. Drop shipping, is it scalable? I know I can drop ship things. I don't like to drop ship things because I like to control my cost of shipping. I like to control mistakes. If something happens, like, I can fix it real quick. So, and then also, is it really something that's like scalable when you don't have no control over the whole process, how it goes?
Steve,
Yeah.
can you define what drop shipping is? Because I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry about that. So drop shipping is when you pretty much you take an order from a customer, you don't physically have it. You send it to a manufacturer, the information there, and then they ship it directly to your customer. So through that whole process, you don't even physically have the product. So I take their money. They could pay me $100. It costs $50. The product costs $50. I pay $50 to the manufacturer. Manufacturer ships it directly to the customer. I keep the $50 profit. Drop shipping has become more popular. I mean, it's been around for a long time, or at least that concept. But a lot of times it's like, oh, I want a drop shipping website or Amazon website or just whatever the case may be. And you're just you could be selling whatever. You can be selling water bottles and put a logo, and you just don't physically have no inventory. And that's how you pretty much do it. Again, for me, it's kind of problematic because with my margins and things like that, and especially with shipping, since I'm shipping large items, if I drop ship something from a manufacturer, I would ship a suit in a certain size, and I know exactly the cost of it. But I also know with UPS and FedEx, a centimeter higher, they round up to the next inch. And that next inch literally can make that price of that box go from $12, $13, and that these are discounted prices, but $12, $13 for ground shipping, all the way up to $22. And that's a big difference, especially if you calculated your free shipping and all this stuff you're doing, So when I drop ship something from a if I drop ship something, I can't control the packaging. I also can't control the marketing material inside the package. If there's a mistake, I gotta then get that package back from the customer. I gotta then send it back again. That eats up all my profit. Like it's just real. Like I'd rather ship it from my location as much as I can. And then again, we're talking about like scalability. What happens if your drop shipping company that you just been drop shipping from goes out of business, or they just don't, they ran out of stock, or whatever the case may be. So those are things with drop shipping. And then your team members, like, people you hire. Hopefully, as you scale up, you'll make more profit. You'll have to hire some staff. I ran my business by myself for about a year and a half before I hired anyone. And it got to the point where it was like impossible for me to operate this by myself, especially during my peak season. Impossible, I say, just because I couldn't ship if I'm shipping, I can't be on the chat. I can't be on the phones. I can't be, doing all the things that need to be done. Sometimes I need to go pick up some products from one of my local vendors. If I'm on the road, I can't be doing all things at once. So I mean, you really want to make your processes, how you operate, how you roll your inventory, how you sell your product, have to have processes for that, so that you can just basically say, okay, if we take this process and expand it, we can just get the same business. Again, when you even talk about your marketing strategy, we're going to talk about next, like digital marketing, advertising, but you can also scale that up. If you spend, for every $10 you spend, you make $25. If that's the case and you keep that same ratio, okay, well, let me spend $20 on marketing. Let me spend $30. Let me spend $40. And if you keep that same ROI, return on investment, then you can keep scaling that thing up to you're spending $100 a day, $300 a day. It doesn't matter at that point if you keep that same flow going. So there's ways to scale up your marketing strategy, and then there's also ways to scale up, like, your actual operations, I guess you would say. So that is something, like I said, currently I'm in the middle of doing and trying to figure out my own self. But hopefully you'll get to that point on your website where you're ready to scale things up. I will also say too, you want to know if it is scalable. You want to know, like for example, my business been on cruise control for the past month because I haven't we bought our first home and we closing on the mortgage and we've been moving and all this type of stuff. So my business has really been on cruise control. So that's a process there. I haven't touched anything, and it's still going. Like the marketing stuff, how things are shipped, how things are whatever. I have an employee. This process, I might have to come in to do some shipping or do some little small things, but for the most part, it kind of like the business has been in cruise control, and it's like, and if all I have to do is like push things up a little bit, and that'll make things go even more. So definitely the example, like scale up, being able to scale. One of my last sections is super important, and we're talking about SEO and paid digital marketing advertising. This is like kind of like my cream of the crop. I do some, I've just started doing like some paid consulting, just because I do get a lot of people hitting me up about digital marketing or the e-commerce website. So if anybody wants to inquire about that or just get some one-on-one attention, you definitely can contact me. My contact will be at the end of this presentation, but you definitely can hit me up and we can go from there, because it's really deep. But let's first start off with what is SEO. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. And that's pretty much like Google's king. I mean, like 95% of the search traffic of the world goes to Google. So when you Google something, if you're literally not on the first 3 results, you're probably not being seen, let alone if you do it on a mobile phone. They might have one, what they call it is organic result. Organic is like it's not paid for. So so if you Google something, the first like 3 results are paid advertising. Then they'll have maybe a map for some local stores, and then you go under that. Then you have some organic listings, and then under that you got you're onto page 2, and it all restarts again. And it gets even worse on a mobile device because it's not as much not as much landscape. So you might have 1 result or whatever the case may be. So your SEO is super important. Like, how can you start ranking on and getting free traffic? For me, there's certain things that we kick butt on certain terms. I mean, like a big season for me for the formal wear industry is prom season. Then the beginning of wedding season, but specifically proms are really big for like the formal wear industry. And so if you Google prom suits, if you Google prom tuxedos, who is the #1 website? You would see Perfect Tux on top of, I see you, D, I see you pointing, on top of Men's Warehouse, the Black Tux, all these Macy's, whoever. You got Perfect Tux on there, #1. Certain terms like I don't know, burgundy tuxedo, red tuxedo, Perfect Tux. So, and that is free traffic. I do not pay for that. Those people come in, and they come in heavily. During my prom season, I probably get, I don't know, it's probably close to 100,000 visitors a month or something like that. It gets really, really, really high, really fast during my peak season. And that is all free traffic. So search engine optimization is like, how did I get #1 on Google? What strategies did I have? Even having your website, even a search term of Perfect Tux, that didn't rank at first. I remember Google suggestions for the longest was like, how you type stuff and you see, Google completes it for you. It was like Perfect Tax, like for the longest. Like, I guess somebody had a tax business, and it was like Perfect Tax. So it took so long, and now it's finally Perfect Tux. Or it's Perfect Tux reviews, Perfect Tux near me. And it's like, wow, I'm seeing all these people that actually search for this stuff, or like when they put near me, it makes me think like, oh, maybe we could do a franchise of this, all type of cool stuff. But so that's SEO. It's like more so I just think of it free traffic. Paid advertising, PPC. PPC means pay per click, and it's pretty much what it says. You pay per click on your website. Social media ads, slightly different, but it's kind of the same thing. You could pay per the click you have. You could pay per how many times someone viewed something. It just depends what you want their conversion action to be, and you pay for that. So, but pretty much like paid advertising is that it's paid. You're paying to be there, and each platform, whether it's Google Ads, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, whatever, Twitter, they all have their own strategy, their own tracking codes, whatever the case may be. They all have their own everything. So it's a lot to learn. And then also when you learn it, to make it profitable, because you can also spend and waste a whole lot of money really, really fast, and Google will be happy to take all that money really, really fast. So so there's a strategy with all of those, and with me, I was able to, I mentioned like Google Shopping, that's within Google Ads. I was able to make that profitable for me. So once I knew that channel was profitable, I just scaled it up and just kept scaling, paying more, and keep raising my budget. When you first start off, going back to, I need to pay for ads. When you first start off in your business, the days of people, when I first launched my first website in 2002, I believe. Yes, 2002. Google was free. Everything on Google was free. They didn't have no paid ads, nothing like that. Everything was free, and it was not hard to rank on there. Actually, back then, I used to spam everybody. Like, I would go on like blackplanet.com or whatever websites was popping at the time, and I would just be spamming people, sending them to my website. Just spam. It's a lot harder to spam people now. You just can't, a lot of people look down on it. They don't like getting some random stuff, and if you want to message every single person on Twitter, good luck. There's problems, it's not as easy anymore. And the reality of this situation is, you need to pay for advertising. The free stuff is going away by the day. Google, the landscape of the free organic results are getting smaller and smaller, especially on, like I already mentioned, on smaller devices, it gets smaller and smaller. Even things like Facebook, even if you have good followers and you got all this, stuff like that, just because you post something in your Facebook page and you got thousands of followers on there, that doesn't mean they see it. They have their own algorithms, and how many times have you seen your friends' posts or a business that you follow, their posts? Now, if you click specifically "show me first" or something like that on Facebook, it's different. But there was an article that came out last year. I forget what was that, but they pretty much said you have better results of getting more traction on standing on the corner handing out your flyer than would be posting on your Facebook page that people follow your thing, that they're going to see what you're doing. And that's because their whole business model is on advertising. That's how they make money. Instagram still has some organic things where you can kind of like get out there, organically, but they're shifting as well. You're doing advertising on it. You got to understand that these stuff, they start off free, but they got to eventually make some money, and how they do it is advertising. So with all that being said, and even with Google, like, it takes time to rank. When I first launched Perfect Tux, how else am I going to get a new customer? Like, I don't show up on any of these search terms. I have to pay. And if I pay, I can get on the first page. I can get on the whatever. I can have my website show up. So if you're not in a position to have a budget, and you don't even need something big. I mean, you could do as little as like $5 a day. But that $5 a day adds up. And then by the end of the month, you're like, dang, I didn't make $1. Do I want to do this for a second month? Those are it is what it is. You have to pay for some type of ads if you're just starting off. Depending on your strategy, because there's some like I said, there's some things you could just do the old school way and get on the street and meet people face to face that people forget about. But for as far as the purely e-commerce website, you do need to pay for some ads to start getting some traction there. Now, once you start getting traction, maybe they'll come back to your website. Maybe you retarget them, and all these other strategies that go kind of part of that, and they get on your funnel. I'm not sure how many people seen those little charts that are funnel like this, and brand awareness and the interest and the and holy finally convert. It's hard to do that, but you have to start getting people into your website, and you also need to start getting people in your website to know what's wrong with your website. What do you need to change? What do you need to edit? what's not happening? Is nobody buying anything? Maybe there's a reason why. For all the things I've mentioned before here. So what was the last thing? How do you rank first on Google? To rank first on Google, it depends on your search term, and it also depends. You need time, lots of time. Let's say you like to sell some stuff in the forest, and you sell Amazon, surviving in the Amazon or whatever. Your website will never, ever, 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 ever rank higher than Amazon.com. It would never. It would never. I will bet $1 million on that. Because at the end of the day, Google's whole thing is like, when somebody Googles something, Google's most important thing is showing people, is putting stuff in people's face that they want. Whether if it's an ad or whatever, they want it to be relevant. They want you to click on a result from them, and they'd be like, I found my answer quickly. That's Google's whole thing. So there's certain key search terms. For example, even with me, regular tuxedo. That's a real broad search term. And I knew that. And I'm starting to rank on the word tuxedo, but I think I'm on like the 3rd or 4th page now. Before I just didn't rank at all, but we are slowly creeping up there. But so it depends on your keyword and then your SEO strategy. But for example, I had a strategy. I knew prom season was very big for me. So I had a strategy for prom suits, prom tuxedos, which is a very, that search terms together are a lot of traffic. So I did some strategies to be able to get first on Google. And if you hit me up, I could work with you on that stuff on the side, but I can't spill all the beans on what I do. But just know you have to, it takes time as well. Perfect Tux, the term Perfect Tux, I used to bid and pay for my own search term, for my own trademark. I would say Perfect Tux. If you typed in Perfect Tux, there was an ad that showed perfecttux.com because I wanted the first thing to show up because Perfect Tux was not ranked yet. So I would say for like Perfect Tux itself, it probably took a couple months because it's not a popular search term. My domain is Perfect Tux. All the stuff that Google looks for just had Perfect Tux, Perfect Tux, Perfect Tux. So it only made logical sense to Google eventually. If someone's Googling Perfect Tux, they're wanting to go to perfecttux.com. So it depends. There's some strategy behind it. Depends on the search term. And then also you have to let time take its place. But then there's also the strategy like how clean your website is, how fast your website is. Is it mobile friendly? Is it all this type of stuff that Google wants to know? Do you have some backlinks? If I don't know, CNN.com blasted out Perfect Tux link, that's a high credible website, blasting out your link. Like that weighs, heavily on Google's algorithms and things like that. So it's possible to rank first, but like I said, depends on the search term and depends on how much time you got, because certain ones will take a lot more time. And yes, I think I came to the end as far as my presentation goes. Again, I think if I could just, before I open it up to any questions or anything like that, but if I could, the biggest thing I see all the time and that people just don't automatically get is that they think they can just start a website and magically people will come. Magically people will buy. Even if they magically come, will they actually buy? And you can pay all you want for, if you had a big budget and you just want to get a bunch of traffic on your website, you can pay for that. And Facebook and Google, they'll be happy to take your money. But how do you get that conversion? And the biggest thing is like literally diving into like how someone is operating on your website, like how your website's set up, what you're selling. Ask yourself, if I didn't know this person, or how do I shop? How do I shop? That when you start thinking like that, that's when you start taking e-commerce to the next level and start trying to look out for these customization tools. And you say, oh, maybe Shopify isn't the right solution for me, or maybe this isn't the right solution for me, or maybe I need to hire a developer and spend $1,000 to get something just right. That I know if I spend this $1,000, it's gonna make me $10,000 in sales because I just need, my customer needs this support to make this conversion happen. So. So to sum it up, I would just say, that would be the biggest thing, like psychology of a customer and then having the right data to support everything. And I hope that was helpful. And if there's any quick questions or anything like that, or Elizabeth, if you want me to touch on something specific.
Yeah. So I saw a few questions in the chat, and I also have my own question.
Okay.
So Demetrius asked, how important is business credit in the early part of the starting of your business?
Now, is it credit as far as like trustworthy of your website, or credit as like
I don't
your
think you meant
business credit to like
credibility.
get, to go to the bank or get a loan or something like that? Maybe he'll throw that in there. Let's see him. Is it on me? Am I on the video? Is still showing? Is it still sharing?
Yeah, it's still sharing.
Can you
You
see?
can leave it up there and throw your contact information.
Oh yeah, let me throw that up there too.
Okay.
Oh yeah, so if anybody needs to contact me, feel free to email me or check me out on IG or Twitter, s.burton, and I'll definitely get at you.
Okay.
But let me see. But I think Demetrius is typing something. Hopefully, let me see if I got my chat up too. Where is my chat? I don't know why I lost it. Maybe because I'm sharing screen.
Okay, while Demetrius is figuring that out, there was another question. Is Google Ads as effective like it was 8 years ago?
No, well, it depends. Google Ads, I'm not sure when they stopped. When they first started, like for example, Google Shopping, it was free. It was free to get your products on there, and then all of a sudden they start charging you for it. Even now, they actually switch back to some free stuff for Google Shopping. Now, if you go to a Google Shopping page, because they're trying to compete with Amazon and stuff like that, there is some free listings of products that's on there. So it's a good thing. I would say effective. It depends on your company. I give this all the time. A lot of times I tell businesses, you have no business being on Facebook advertising, whatever. A perfect example of that would be a business I was just helping. They sell like natural like soothing things for kids, like similar to like Zarbee's and stuff like that. Like, if you're sick or something like that. Where you want to ask yourself is, what Google is good is because you're bidding on search terms. Like, so if someone Googles natural remedies for a sore throat for children or toddlers, something like that, that is the most intent search term you could find. If you get in front of them and your website is great, your product is great, you got some reviews up, you are probably highly likely to convert that customer. But if the difference of like Facebook or Instagram advertising, you're pretty much getting in front of customers that are, or potential customers that are just scrolling through on their regular day. They're just chatting, checking out what their friends are doing. All that good stuff. I don't know. Oh, looks like my video ended. So it's like, just because you could say, let's say with Facebook, you do it like on interest and things like that. So let's say you say you're a mother, you have kids. Oh, yeah, that's perfect. They'll love my product. Just because they're a mother and kids doesn't mean that they're sick right now, or they need a natural remedy for that in that moment. Versus on Google, they just search this search term. You're bidding on these search terms. I want to show up for these specific search terms.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the flip side of that, let's say you have, I don't know, like a lot of if you have some type of service or something like that. Let's say you have I don't know, something that all small businesses can use. Way to filter out spam messages or prevent spam stuff from hacking into your business email address and whoop-de-whoop, or something like that, some type of service. Now, that might be a tough thing that people Google. Maybe they don't Google specifically that term. They have that problem, but they're not Googling, how do I prevent da, 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 da. And if they do, you want to advertise for that too. And you also don't want to advertise, oh, I'm a small business as a search term, you'll get everybody to work. But if you're saying, okay, my problem, majority of small business owners have that problem, and I know they want to protect their email system or something like that, then you might say, okay, the interest is small business owners. do an ad. It's a video. This is a problem. 90% of small business owners have this problem. Oh, that's pretty cool. While I'm scrolling, I'm gonna say, oh, that's dope. That's a dope idea. I didn't think about that. No matter what I was doing, it caught my attention. I have that problem. I'm ready to make that purchase, and I can specify who I want to get in front of on Facebook ads. So that's the difference. Where both, it depends on the platform. It depends what's going on. So I would say Google Ads is as effective, but it just depends on how you're using it. And you know, it just depends. And that's why I say it gets deeper than just signing up. Let me make an ad and see what happens.
Awesome.
I
have another question.
Yeah, sure.
What are some of the better, I guess, platforms that have good payment processing? Because you know, I have my own business. It's a conference, but people are purchasing tickets, and you know, sponsors pay us, you know, however, but you know, utilizing a QuickBooks invoice, or you know, PayPal, those can get pretty expensive with the fees.
Right. Now, I mean, once you start talking about QuickBooks and invoicing, that took me to a different thing, because it's kind of different than just taking the purchase. I think you can.
Right.
They do have a point of sale thing, QuickBooks kind of connected to. But at the end of the day, I accept PayPal, and I also accept my main thing is Stripe, a company called Stripe. They were pretty much made for e-commerce, and to integrate with your website is pretty easy and do all the stuff. And that's how you accept credit cards and stuff like that. I think generally industry standards, I think 2.9% plus 30 cents or something like that. If you start getting enough revenue or enough stuff coming on, you probably could renegotiate, lower your stuff. Actually, with Stripe, I came in with a slightly lower fee, and they raised their fees, but they kept me at my same fee. So it just depends. And it's actually good that you mentioned this, because another tidbit that I tell a lot of business owners, especially just starting off, especially when, and I don't know if this was to Dimitri's question about credit, but when you're just starting and you really don't have, it's hard for you to get a business loan, or it's hard for you to, you just, cash flow wise, if you're trying to get some money, the number one thing you can do is accept, through PayPal, through Stripe now, through Square or whatever, because they actually give loans based on your sales history. For them, it makes sense, and it's not about your personal credit. It doesn't even show up on your credit. All it is they take a percentage of your future sales. They'll tell you what the percentage is, and if you have low sales for a certain amount, they take you don't have to make as much. You don't have a fixed rate monthly fee, monthly payment. So those type of things have been great even for me. Those times I had to utilize some of those things, and especially during slow months or slow parts of my season where, just cash flow wise. But those things are great, especially for you just starting off, or if you don't have the credit, or you don't have whatever reason you can't obtain capital. Those are a lot of things, and it's worth though that 2.9% that you got to give up. Or actually, with what happened with COVID, a lot of people take cash or take Cash App or Venmo because they're trying to avoid these fees. They're trying to avoid paying taxes or whatever they're trying to avoid. But when the pandemic hit and they got all these government programs out here, and you have to prove you exist as a business or prove you do X amount of numbers or whatever the case may be, it was a pain, because you was over here, you don't exist. So So I would say there's probably no way to get around the lower of the fees, getting something for cheap. But I would say for me, Stripe is the best. I love Stripe, and then also PayPal, just because I think when people buy with PayPal, it's more of, especially going back to that trustworthiness, because people know their purchase through PayPal is protected.
Right.
So if they never heard of your website, you probably definitely want to tap. I threw PayPal as an option just on the strength of PayPal's trustworthiness. And then I'm not sure if, going back to Dimitri's question, if there was credit on the side of who you are, or if you're an established business or whatever the case may be. I did it off the strength or the credit of PayPal, that people will want to make a purchase. because if they don't believe me and what I'm telling them, at least they know they can get their money back if they play with the PayPal account. You know what I'm saying? So, so just some ways to think about with payments.
Yeah. And then to also Dimitri's question about business credit, I think one of the things that businesses, you get an EIN, IRS number, tax ID number. That's like to pay taxes, but there's also what's called a DUNS number. And that, is how you kind of start establishing business credit. And that's, necessary to get loans. Sometimes government contracting requires DUNS numbers, even like a grant, if you're a nonprofit getting a grant, you need to have like a DUNS number to get those federal grants. If you want any type of federal money, they require a DUNS number. So I think it's important, if you do have aspirations of doing business, government contracting, to kind of have a DUNS number. I think that's really important. And, because that is a way that they do look at your business history, your business credit, to see if you're even a viable business. So.
Right. Definitely. And just to even take that another step forward, I have that as well. And the business is building credit, and it definitely helps being, that we've been about 4.5 years now in business, and I got business accounts and all that type of stuff. But and don't get it twisted too. Your personal credit is going to play a big part for a long time. Mm-hmm. People want to separate them two. I wish I still could separate them two. But everything I do, there's certain loans or certain things that I've gotten on credit cards that don't report on my personal credit. So that's a good thing. It's strictly on business credit, and it might not affect your credit score and your utilization rates and all that type of stuff. But every loan, any business transaction that I've had to do as far as dealing with any financial institute, to this day, I had to also, either I'm a personal guarantee of it, or they check my personal credit score. So it's it's just as important. Don't think that, I'm starting this new entity, I got an LLC, I got an EIN number. It's, hey, my credit score is 400, but this is brand new. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It doesn't work that way.
I know we also have Jaden Harps on the phone. He is one of the co-organizers of Black Entrepreneurs, Leaders, and Learners. And tomorrow they're actually doing a workshop on credit 101. So Jaden, did you want to share more about that?
Yeah. So tomorrow we're going to be collaborating with Black Tech Link. Elizabeth, thank you again. Well, first off, thanks, Stephen, for this great talk about e-commerce and stuff. But so tomorrow we're going to be talking about credit 101. Literally, what is credit? When did it get started? The different types, the categories, and then it kind of goes into first the personal, and then it's going to go into the business credit, right? So kind of some of the things that we're talking about right now. As we all know, it's very important to have that down, before we even start a business or thinking about doing a business. It will just open the doors for us. So that's one of the things we're going to be talking about tomorrow night at 7 p.m. West Coast time. So if anybody's interested, please attend RSVP through the Black Tech Link. Yeah.
Cool. And I'll put our meetup. Let's see.
Yeah, and I gotta just co-sign that as well, just as far as credit. It's been the most important thing in my business to date. And it's also, we get a lot about Black entrepreneurs and, not having access to capital and things like that. And my view on it is that a lot of times we're just not prepared, or we don't know what we don't know until we go edit, and you find out, I'm not qualified, or I'm not, whatever the case may be, but you didn't even know how the game was being played before you even stepped into it. And so on paper, it's these white folks ain't messing with me. But it was no, the reason why is because your starting blocks was short from the jump. And then, you know, you didn't have a chance even walking in the door. You didn't have a chance, but you didn't even know it at that point. Because there were some things that even for me, you know, like a lot of businesses don't get to 2 years. You need 2 years worth of tax returns before you can even mess with a big bank without, no matter what you're doing revenue wise. You need that just automatically. And some of the things that I was able to get a line of credit last year from a major bank. And that was a pop bottle moment for me just to scratch that off my list of like things they say black men can't do or black people can't do. Like I was able to scratch that off and like, but that process was literally all digital. Like I don't think they knew I was black until they actually came to my office and was like, you just can't say on the paper, oh, I make X amount of, you know, X amount of business, X amount of revenue. I do this, that, and the third. They actually came to my office and were like, let's see this before they gave the money, access to it. So I say that all to say, like, I think, you know, credit is just the most important thing that will allow your business to, you know, to survive. And just, you know, when you need, and if you, and before you establish that, that's why those things through PayPal or whatever I was mentioning earlier come in key, because you don't necessarily need, it's all on your sales history versus your credit report.
Yeah, one of the issues that I've been dealing with, so I do events and I get large sponsorships, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna, you know, really, you know, be straight on needle and, you know, invoice all these companies through QuickBooks, right? And, you know, that way I can keep track of everything. My accounting's on point. I can, you know, set myself up for bigger things. And then as soon as like I made this first sell, like over like, you know, $3,000 to $5,000, like, and I invoice for it. I'm like, yes, finally money in the bank, right? And then QuickBooks puts me on pause. They're like, okay, your bank account is too new. We need to see your personal bank statements for the last 6 months. And I was just like, okay. And I sent them over and they're like, you didn't average the amount that you're going to receive. So we can't accept this money on your behalf. And we're going to have to refund. So that's just a way how like your personal business and personal banking can play into, you know, a startup, you know.
Wow, that's crazy. I think that's like a lot of BS too. That's like, I mean, you know, because it's like I just started. Like, what you go penalize me for just starting?
Right, and that's pretty much what I was penalized, and so I had to make a return of. So now I have the customer like, is this like
right? Yeah, I would not go through QuickBooks for your like point of sale. Like how you.
Yeah.
I mean, you can send them the invoice and they can pay you, you know, through PayPal or pay you through Stripe. Because like the most you got to do on PayPal is verify your account or verify your, you know, your social, whatever you want to do. But after that, it's like, I mean, come on now. That's crazy. That's crazy. Right. I'm sorry you had to go through that because that's ridiculous. I would definitely say, that's crazy.
No, but is there any more questions? You have about a few more minutes.
Let's see here. My IG live stopped. I guess you can only do it for so long.
I know. Well, Stephen, thank you so much again, you know, for being on this call. This was really good. This, for those who are just kind of tuning in, this is day 23 of 30 Days of Black Business. This whole month during National Black Business Month, we've been cranking out workshops from like August 1st, and our last workshop is going to be August 30th. So we're reaching into the final week. We have some really great workshops on risk management, a really good workshop tomorrow, as Jayden mentioned, on Credit 101, and some other ones like focusing on leveraging your personal brand to build a business, as well as selecting the right business insurance too. So please, you know, check us out. I put the information, meetup.com/blacktech link. And then if you guys have any more questions, just feel free to reach out through our meetup. Again, Steve, thank you. If you have questions, you can reach out to Steve, Steve at perfecttux.com. I definitely will be reaching out because I have some questions. But thank you again.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you. Thank you for reaching out to me and hosting this and like everything you're doing, because I know how hard and challenging it is to do things like this, or even be consistent enough to do it, let alone daily and all that stuff. So, you know, major props to you.
Awesome. All right, everyone, you guys have a great evening, and hope to see you guys again soon.
Likewise.
Bye.